Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us today for another class in our ongoing series featuring Blue Moon Studios UV resin craft projects. If you have missed our earlier classes, they are available on Michael's website, where you can watch the videos of past projects along with our tips and tricks and learn how to use UV resin to make your own unique jewelry pieces. Today, we will be going back to basics with an introduction to using UV resin with bezels. There's always something new to learn. Everything you need for this project is available at Michael's stores nationwide, as well as on the Michael's website. I will also be posting the handout in the chat function a few times so everyone can access it there. Stephanie Minor, Blue Moon's creative director and passionate UV resin crafter extraordinaire, will be your instructor, and she is so excited to share today's project with you. Rosa Vergaro, who turns our ideas and inspirations into reality, is off camera and busy assisting Stephanie with what she needs so you can get the most out of today's class. And I am Anne-Marie Menlo, and I will be answering your questions via the chat function. We hope you can craft along with us today, but if not, enjoy today's class and pick up your own UV resin craft materials at Michael's stores nationwide and online, so you too can enjoy this jewelry craft as much as we do. This video will be posted within a day or two to the Michael's website, so you can watch it and refer to it again. So without further ado, here's Stephanie.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are going to be talking all about UV resin. Here it is. Here's the little tiny bottle. It's one bottle. This is a different resin than you have probably used in the past because this cures only in UV light. So this is this kind of magical new crafting material that is commonly used either in molds, like a little silicone mold, or in a bezel. And we're going to be learning all about bezels today. So first, let me just introduce you to what this is. And to do that, I'm just going to bring the camera down here a little bit so you can see my workspace. I have a silicone mat here, and I have a wood stick. Let me see if I can get that even further. There we go. And I have a glass of water here. So the demonstration that I want to show you is how this works. So this, when you pour it out, it's a clear goo. You see how it pours out? Now I'm actually going to stick this down into water just for a demonstration to show you that this does not dry. It cures, and it only cures in UV light. This is a UV lamp that's sold at Michael's. You can see I'm turning it on there. So I'm actually going to put this in the water and shine some UV light on it. And the reason I'm doing this is because even in an airless environment, it will cure with the UV light. Cure times for this product are about 2 to 4 minutes, depending on what you've put inside the resin, what size of the thing. A lot of different factors can affect it. But in just a few minutes, you will get a fully custom hardened plastic piece that you can embed all sorts of fun things into. As I mentioned, this UV light is available at Michael's. If you do not have a UV light, the great thing about this is it also cures in sunlight. So just by going outside and putting these things outside, it'll cure in about 5 minutes if it's a very sunny day. So this also brings up some safety precautions. So first of all, your workspace. Okay, so you see the light turned off in about a minute. Let me just pull this out. So what was like gooey and plastic is hard plastic now. You see that's hardened. So even in the absence of any air, you get a cure. So this brings up a few safety things. First of all, your workspace. You don't want to work near a big open window because things will start to cure as you're working with them. You do want to wear gloves. If you have a sensitivity or allergy to any type of resin product, wear gloves. Make sure you're working in a well-ventilated area. And so what we're going to do is switch cameras, and I'm going to get you really close into the action, and I'm going to show you how this product is used for making jewelry. I'll be right back. Okay, can everyone hear me over here? All right.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So we have some jewelry here. We're going to make a few of these pieces. If you are crafting along with us, this is the piece that we're going to make together with the supply list that was listed in the class description. But we're going to kind of work up to that a little bit and start by making these earrings. So you can see this this is a bezel. And this starts its life out like this. It's a clear bezel. See if my finger can go through there. This is what's called an open back bezel. There are plenty of bezels out there, including ones you may be familiar with like this. This is also a bezel. Okay. This is just more of your traditional bezel. It's got a back to it. And this one doesn't. And so you see this type of bezel used more often in UV resin because with UV resin, you can get this clear. So you can actually see through there. I don't know if I put my finger behind, but you can get a clear look. I could also do the same thing in here, but the back, of course, would be metal colored instead of clear. All right, so these are bezels. You may see some online instructions for how to prep the bezels by you just want to make sure it's clean and free of oil. So if this is dirty, dusty, you might want to take some alcohol and just kind of clean that up. But this is basically ready to go. So I'm going to show you how we prep our bezels. And part of that prep is this product here. This is a resin tape. It's actually a polyester tape that is used for resin crafting. You see, it's very similar to packing tape, but it's a lower tack. So it's made specifically to work with the resin. You don't want to use like packing tape, mailing tape for this. You won't get very good results. So I've just cut off a piece of that. And now I'm going to take my bezel and just stick it to it. Stick it on there. And actually I'm going to put it down on my workspace and just, I don't know, kind of wiggle it a little bit because I want to make sure that that tape is really stuck to the back. If it's not stuck well to the back, your resin might leak out. And we don't want that. So that's the first step in prepping it. And remember that sticky side is up. See, it's sticking to me. All right. Next step in prepping it is to fill it with some resin. And see how this pours directly out of the bottle. There's no pre-mixing steps. If you've worked with two-part resin before, there's always that step where you have to mix two things and be very scientific about it. That is already done here. So we are just pouring it straight out of the bottle. And I've gone in with a little wood stick and I'm just kind of pushing the resin into the corners of this bezel. Okay. And making sure that it touches. Now I have filled this about, I don't know, less than halfway full, about a third of the way full. However, the smallest amount you can put in there so it fully fills the bezel. And now what I'm going to do is pre-cure this. So I'm going to bring my lamp in. Here's the lamp. I'm going to show you the bottom of the lamp. This is what it looks like. So it plugs in with a USB cord. So this plugs into a laptop or however you plug it into your cell phone. And it's got one button on it. When I press the button, it runs for 1 minute. So it's on a timer that will automatically turn off after a minute. I'm going to kind of put this directly under there. And if I hit the button again, it turns off. Turn back on for a minute. So that is the lamp. It's available in 2 different colors. I'm going to show you what the lamp looks like in stores so you know what you're looking for. This is what it looks like in stores. We have it in white and in pink. Okay.
Stephanie, I don't know if you have it handy, but do you have a package of the tape in the package?
I sure do. Here it is.
Oh, thank you.
So this is what the tape looks like in stores. So you get quite a lot of it. There's like 200 inches of tape around here. And there on the back of every package, we spent a lot of time making sure we gave clear instructions with pictures to show you exactly what to do. So that is the tape package. All right, so this has been going for just a minute. It's probably been a minute. I'm going to turn this off and move the lamp. And I don't know if you can hear that tap, 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 but it's hardened now. Okay. That is now ready to accept anything we want to put on there. So these steps that I did, the cutting of the tape, the putting the tape on the back, and putting kind of your first layer, that's how you are going to start any bezel project. You're going to go through these steps. So for this one, let me see if I can bring this kind of closer. We have all sorts of fun stuff embedded in there. We've got pearls, we've got crystals, and we've got some gold flaky things. Those items are all included in our Mega Findings kit. Mega Findings pack, there it is. All right, so here is another item, how you'll see it in stores. This is our Mega Findings kit. Sorry, not Mega Findings, Mega Filler. And it's got all sorts of fun filler stuff. Everything from little flaky confetti to really fine glitter to dried flowers. These are real dried flowers. These are polymer clay slices. And then we've got some pearls and some metal charms. So this is a great buy if you want to get into resin crafting and want to have a whole bunch of sprinkly stuff to play with. Okay, what we are working with in this piece are those pearls. This is what the little gold flakes look like. I'm actually gonna put those out onto the work surface a little bit. And then also these little gems. These are pointy back 3D gems. And I have some of them right here. All right, so now is the fun part. We've done all the prep work, and now we get to just be fun and creative with what we want to put down into the resin. So I'm going to put a little bit more resin in there. And you can see when I pour it, I'm going to get you really close up. There are no bubbles. Bubbles is another problem that resin crafters have. And the bubbles often come when you're mixing a two-part resin. But with this, bubbles are really not an issue. I'm gonna try to keep you really up close so you can see. So again, I'm just mushing that resin into the corners. And then I still have a little bit of resin on this wood stick. So the tip of it has just a little bit. And I use that moisture to just pick up and place these things where I want. And my thoughts on glitter is the more the better. So load this stuff up as much as you want. And then we have these tiny little, well, it's not focusing, but these tiny little gems. We're going to put some gems in there too. And then finally, some pearls. And I've got this camera so close that I keep hitting it. So let me move it up. Okay. And you can take your time and place each element exactly where you want it. I just picked up a little more of the resin so I can, these beads are not wanting to cooperate with me. Let me try to scoop them out. Okay, let me get a little more resin on here. Come here, pearl. Let's do it this way. Okay. So as I said, you can take your time because this is not going to start curing on you. You completely control when you're going to cure this item. So I can take all day and figure out exactly where I want those things to go. I can leave it and come back the next day or the next week. And as long as there's been no sunlight or UV light on this piece, it will remain in its liquid form. So you have complete control over this creation. Okay, so I've got those things where I want them to go. And I'm going to do another small curing step. So I'm going to bring the lamp in, turn it on. And the reason that I'm doing this extra step is I want to kind of lock those in place. I've spent all my time putting exactly where I want them to go. If I filled it to the top with more resin now, it would just kind of displace all of those and get it all messy again. I want to lock it into place exactly the way it is. So I'm going to let this go, even for just 30 seconds is all it needs to really lock that in place. Like if I try to just under the light, start to try to wiggle this pearl, you can see it's not moving. That's already locked down. So I'm just going to stop it. And now I just want to fill it to the top. So while I'm filling it to the top and going to do the final cure, do we have any questions in the chat? I would encourage you to use the chat function. When you are chatting with us, you are chatting with the actual manufacturers of this product. We want to hear from you. We want to help you out. Let us know what your questions are. Anne-Marie, how are we doing there?
We're doing great. I'm keeping up so far. But maybe you want to talk a little bit about other things that you could use in the UV resin. And I know we've covered some of them in other classes.
That is a perfect segue into what we're going to do next. So this is curing. I'm going to let this go a couple minutes and move it off camera and bring in some other bezels. So you can see all the different shapes that these bezels come in. Let me show you. This is what it looks like in stores. Here's what the package looks like. So you can get a couple different shapes inside one package. So what we've done is we've just prepped these in the same way that that I showed you. So just by putting the tape on the back, putting a very thin layer. These are all sticking together because it's all sticky tape, but let me try to line them up for you. And I'm going to show you what else you can put in here. So the first thing we're going to start with is dried flowers. Let me see. I think I'll do that in the, these are all sticking. I think I'll do the dried flowers in this little circle bezel. We've got some dried flowers here. So dried flowers, we sell them in a couple different ways. These are also at Michael's. You can see they come in like smaller packages. We also have packages that have some greenery in them. And that is actually what I'm going to use here. So this is what it looks like in stores. So it's got like a bunch of different flat flowers in there and some greenery. So here's a piece of that. So these are very delicate. You want to be very gentle when working with these. So I just got a piece of greenery and I'm going to put a tiny little dot of resin here and place that in there. Sort of tamp it down. And then I'm going to pick up another flower. I have a flower here. Oh, here. And just place that in. And that's how you use dried flowers with bezels. So what I would do now is kind of pre-cure this, then put my final coat on and cure it. Okay. So, but I'm not going to do that because I want to show you what else you can do with this stuff. Next, you can do glitter. So we have some blue glitter here. And I also have a silicone cup. See the silicone cup? This is also sold in this section at Michael's. So I'm going to put some resin in the cup. Put some glitter in there. And again, how much glitter? It's up to you. You can put enough glitter so that it becomes an opaque blue color, or you can put glitter, just a little bit of glitter, so you have more spaces between the little flecks. So I pour that in there and just mix it up. And now we've got this gorgeous blue. And so I have this rectangle bezel already prepped. And I'm just going to pour that in there and concentrate it a little more toward the bottom, because I want to show you a technique of doing ombre glitter. Any type of glitter will work. Metal glitter, glass glitter, polyester glitter, which is what most glitter is made out of, will work for this. Okay, so I put that in there, concentrated more toward the bottom. I'm getting kind of a cool ocean wave vibe there. I'm liking it. But to make it ombre, what you would do is just straight out of the bottle, pour this more toward the top. You can see how it kind of pushes away. Hi, Manuela. Yes, that is glitter. That came from this little package here. Okay, and so you can see it's already kind of, ombre means you're transitioning from color to color. And so I just want to take some of this and just kind of make a transition area between the clear and the fully opaque, glittery, blingy stuff. And again, I can take my time and get this placed exactly where I want it to go until I have a smooth transition. And then this one's ready to go. This is ready for cure. So let me just push it off to the side here. Next, I want to show you how to use paper with a bezel. I'm going to zoom out a little bit for this. So what we did was I printed out a picture. This is just regular copy paper on our office printer. And I printed out the same picture in multiple sizes. I like to do this so that I can figure out what size I want to use. So I can take a bezel, let's say this shape bezel, and kind of place it and decide, well, do I want more of her body or more of just her face? Okay. And then I would go in and mark this, cut it out. Okay. And we have already done that. Oh, we've already done that actually in a teardrop shape. Lynn, can you sprinkle the glitter? Good question. Yes, you can absolutely just sprinkle the glitter in there. I'm kind of mixing it beforehand to show that option, but sprinkling always works. Okay, so this is just, again, a piece of paper, and into my prep bezel, let me just put that in there, kind of tamp it down, and then we're going to cover it with more resin. Now I could put rhinestones, I could put glitter, make her have a little rhinestone crown, maybe. Let me just pour some resin over the top of this. Now you saw that there was one air bubble that kind of just popped on its own. And that is what we see is the air, the bubbles, if they're bubbles at all, they're large and they're easy to pop on their own. So what I'm doing is, see, I'm kind of like teasing the sides of it to make sure that it reaches all the way. I saw the question, what happens if you use too much resin? Well, the good news about this resin is that it domes. So you can see that I have more resin in here than the level of the resin is higher than the level of this bezel. And so you naturally get a dome to it, and you want that dome. If you feel like you totally have too much, you can go in with your wood stick and kind of scoop it out. And I always keep a paper towel on the side. So I would like scoop it out, wipe, scoop it out, wipe if I got too much. Okay, but this is ready for curing. So our 3 that are ready for curing, I'm just going to put those, here's our 3, put those under the lamp, give those a little baking. Okay. So now that I've shown you a lot of different ways to use this to put it, oh, so we have one more. Sorry, I have one more little cat head here. For this one, we have something fun. Let me fill this with a little more resin. So I'm bringing it up into the little ears. Actually, I have 2 more. I can show you more things. Let me show you how it might work with stickers. These are just some stickers we got at Michael's. Here's some other stickers. I have not found a sticker that doesn't work with this. You know, stickers come in a lot of different materials, and they all just seem to work. So I'm going to take, let's just use an A. And let's put, well, an A, that was a bad shape for this, for this shape. Let's do Oh, let's do a J. And of course I got it crooked. But you will take your time and get that perfectly in there. But you can see how easy it is to embed a sticker inside the resin and just fill that up. With the cat head, we have some candy sprinkles. And I'm gonna sprinkle those for the sprinkler question that we had. I'm just gonna kind of sprinkle those in there. And of course, take my time to get them exactly where I want them to be. I want to do a little more of an ombre look, so I'm going to concentrate these more toward the bottom. And then we're ready to cure. Okay, so those are just a small example of all of the different materials you can use and embed inside these bezels. And by the way, every single material that I'm talking about, you can also use in a mold. Silicone molds are a big part of resin crafting. This is an example of one of the molds. Everything that I'm doing, you could also put inside of a mold. You get some really cool effects like that. All right, so let's see. While that's curing, let's get started on our main project, which is this butterfly necklace. So the butterfly necklace, you can see it has a pink background, almost like an opaque, let me turn it over. See, it's got like an opaque pink background. And then the flowers are on top of the color. The other option is the flowers are just on clear. It just depends on what your personal preference is. We're going to do this pink one because I want to show you another product I haven't shown you yet, which are tints. Okay, so these are our tints in stores. So this one is blue, yellow, and pink. This one is red, white, and black. So to use the tint, you want to start with a cup. We're going to pour some resin in there. And I'm going to make this pink color. So to do that, I'm going to start with probably just 1 drop of the white. And we're going to do 1 drop of the red. I'm going to try to do it like a half a drop. It's not open. I'm trying to get just a tiny little bit in there. These tints are very concentrated. So you can see just 1 drop is all we need. So here's our 2 drops of tint. And I just start to mix them around. So you can see we've got, it's not quite opaque. It's still semi-transparent, this color that we're getting. Okay. All right, so now I've got my color ready. Let's prep the bezel. So here's what the butterfly bezel starts its life as. And we're going to take our tape. Cut a piece of tape. Sticky side up. Put the bezel on there. Kind of work it in there. And we are ready to put the pink resin in there. Get my wood stick. And so I just want to carefully put this in here. This, I mean, it's a very forgiving material. So if I overflow this, if I get some of it on the metal, it's not a big deal. Come in with maybe a wet Q-tip. You can kind of just wipe that off of the metal parts before you cure it. Being able to control the cure really helps. You're not fighting against the clock. All right, so there's my layer of pink, which I am going to bring my lamp in and cure. Do we have anyone crafting along with us, by the way? Raise your hand, shout yourself out. Anybody? Maybe.
Maybe.
I hope so.
I think I see a few people out there.
Oh, yeah?
I think
Awesome.
so.
Awesome. Well, while this is curing, I will give my shout out please post your creations online. We want to see you see what you're making. We love the creativity of our customers. And anytime you post your creations, go ahead and use the hashtag UV Resin Craft. I check this hashtag on Facebook and on Instagram. I would love to see what you're making and go on and comment and like it. So hashtag UV Resin Craft, and we will see those posts. All right, so this is going to stay under there for a minute. Because this tint that I use is semi-transparent, or let's see, that went for a minute and turned off. I just want to make sure that it's completely cured. Anytime you use a dark tint or an opaque tint, you're going to want to give it a little extra cure time, just because the UV light can't reach that easily through the resin. So you may need just a little extra cure time. Okay, so let me turn that off. We're ready to go for our next step. So we want to place these flowers. So I'm actually going to start, I'm going to put a little dot of resin here. It helps to have a little dot when you're working with flowers. So that way I can have that to wet the tip of my wood stick here. The first one I have though, actually let me do this. This is, we call them lace flowers. I'm not sure what the technical term for these is, but this is how they come in the package. It's like a spray of flowers. And you can get in there and cut these up. So I'm just taking my scissors and cutting off these tiny, tiny little flowers on the edges. And you want to be very careful with these. These are very delicate. They are real dried flowers. All right, so I'm just cutting these onto my work surface. And they are sprinkled about. And now I'm going to dip into that resin, pick them up, and put them exactly where I want them to go. Actually, before I do that, it helps also for this to be wet. So put a few dots of that in there, move that around so that when we put the flowers in, they will have something to stick to. Okay. All right, let's go in with our flowers. So up here in these top corners, there's a little bit. Down here, it looks like there's a little bit. And of course, if you're crafting at home, you will take the time to put these perfectly in place. I want to try to do it quickly so I can show you more stuff. Let's see here. Put another one. Okay, that's looking pretty good to me. And then we have another flower here. This is a plum blossom. And I'm going to try to not cut this in half. I'm going to try to, no, it's a little bit too big. Let's find a smaller flower. Here's a little smaller one. I want to try to do this without cutting it. So let me just place it down in there. Oops, I got some yellow on it. That's okay. All right. And then also in the center of this, there's a bright pink. And that comes from these, it's like a dried baby's breath. Comes in lots of different colors. So let me just get a little piece of that. Here's what a little branch of it looks like. And again, I'm going to cut off those little ends and place them exactly where I want them to go.
We have some questions regarding the tints, Stephanie.
Sure.
Can you use any type of tints? And also, does the tint darken when cured?
Okay, so we suggest using these tints. These are specially made to work with resin. There are other tints for other kinds of resin that will work. And there are some that won't work. Like alcohol inks, for example, just won't work well with regular resin. But a tiny bit of acrylic paint works. A little bit of mica powder works. And these, which is a which is sold in the program, is really what we suggest to use the most. And the second question was, will they darken during cure? Actually, we see the opposite. We see things lighten slightly during the cure if it's tinted or dyed. So these flowers are dyed, these colors. So if you leave it outside in the sun or under the lamp for a really long time, it will kind of almost bleach the dye just a little bit. All right, so back to our butterfly here. He's ready. Again, the resin isn't all the way to the top yet, but I want to lock what I've done in place. So I'm going to kind of pre-cure that. And I still have my silicone cup over here. And for easy cleanup, what I like to do is just cure that cup right in the light so that I don't have to go in there with a paper towel and wipe it out. I can just cure it and pop it out. All right, so while I'm waiting for this to cure, do we have any other questions from the group?
How about fumes, smell, safety, that type of thing as it relates to the resin?
Yes, well, you will find if you've tried other brands of UV resin that ours has a low smell. Some other types of resin out there, especially the cheaper brands, when you cure them, they let off a very, very strong smell and can even start to smoke a little bit. So first of all, this is a very high quality resin. You will not get those problems with it. But there are still certain safety precautions in place. And so we do suggest to use masks or or gloves if you are doing like this for 12 hours a day in a closed non-ventilated room. You do want to protect yourself a little bit. Yep, so that's kind of my safety spiel.
Well, we're all wearing masks these days, so it's not that unusual.
Yes. All right, so I'm just gonna fill this to the top now.
And if you do get bubbles, let's see, Maya saw a couple in your cat mold. Give us
Okay.
your best suggestions as to how to get those bubbles out of there.
Once you cure the resin, if it has a bubble in it, that bubble is there forever. So you want to deal with the bubbles before the cure. All right, so I've just put in some more resin on there. Let me cure that. So you definitely want to deal with bubbles before the cure. The best ways that I found to deal with them, if it's a big bubble, you can just stab it with this wood stick, just pop it and it'll pop. If you can't pop it or if it's too small to pop, you can use the other side. This is it's more of a wedge shape, and just kind of scoop out or push it to the side and scoop it out is really the best way to deal with bubbles.
Thank you.
All right, so after this cures, we're gonna take it, we're gonna demold it, I guess I should say, take it off of the tape. And then I'm gonna show you how to turn this thing into jewelry. So let me get those components out. All right, so we have some chain that we'll need. And all right, so that's gone. We move this to the side. And I'm actually going to turn that light on all of these things over here so they can get some love. All right. So we have chain, we have our charm, and we have some jump rings. These are jump rings. This is another basic building block of jewelry. These jump rings are how we connect one metal thing to another metal thing. And so let me show you how to do that. So each jump ring is a circle of metal that has a little break in the top. So it's not a continuous circle. It's too small to see on camera, but let me show you a bigger one. Here's a bigger one. You can see that a little bit better. So it's got a break in the top. And so I want to take some jewelry pliers and situate them around that break like this. And then I want to pull one plier toward me and one away from me. to open it. See how I bent it so it's open? You never want to open this way because you won't be able to get it back into a circle. So that's how you open a jump ring, and you close it in the opposite motion. That's how you close it. All right. So let me do that with this smaller one. It's harder for you to see. So I'm going to open it. And now that that's open, I can use it to attach this chain to my butterfly pendant. So I'm going to take the chain, find the last link, and put that through. All right, actually I did this little out of order. Let me first take this tape off. You can see how easy that just pops off. You can reuse this tape, by the way. It's reusable. And so here's our final piece. Now, because I like to show you when I make mistakes, I'm going to show you. I don't know if you can see because it's clear. Right here, I overflowed the resin just a little bit. You can hardly see it, but I didn't catch that before I cured it. And now that it's there for good. You can hardly see it though. Okay. All right, so now that I have my open jump ring attached to my chain, I can use that to attach this, and then I close the jump ring. Close. Okay, and now that's attached. And I do the same thing to the other side. Find the break in the jump ring, open it up, and then use that to attach this side. Oh, it's one of those days where, okay, bear with me here. Bear with me, I can do it. There we go. The hardest part of the whole thing is threading it on there. Okay, so let's close this jump ring. Now we have the front part of our necklace. Now we need to do the back part. So let's find the ends. Find the ends, find the ends. Here they are. We need to attach a clasp. One that looks like this. This is a lobster clasp. Again, another basic building block. And so to do that, I'm going to put one jump ring here and one jump ring here. All right. We got a question, is the chain tarnish free? This is a Michaels chain. I believe it's made of iron. The iron has a very small coating of plating on it, but it is not tarnish free. They are tarnish resistant, but tarnish free is very difficult to achieve unless you're dealing with, I mean, even all metals tarnish. Even if this was made of pure gold, it will tarnish over time. So again, I'm just attaching the jump ring, using it to jump from the chain to the clasp and closing the jump ring. Okay, so that's one side of my necklace. I'm gonna put this jump ring on the other side so that I have something to connect it to. And then when you get used to it, you can just use one plier to close the jump ring like that. All right, and then this hooks onto here. Oh, come on, there we go. And there's our necklace. Gorgeous, gorgeous. Okay, so with the time that we have remaining, I just want to come back to these things that I made. These cured under here for a few minutes. I didn't finish these ones. I have to put another coat of resin on those, but these ones are finished. So I wanted to take them off the tape and show you what we have. So here's the back, here's the front. So you can see, there's a little bit of a margin around the edges where the picture isn't. I don't mind that so much. If that bothers you, then you can just cut your picture just a little bit bigger. Let's look at our ombre charm here. Actually, while we're doing this, let me fill these with resin and get those cured. moving the resin to where we want it to go. And let's put those under the lamp. Wow, we look at this one. So here's our ombre. How cute is this? And if I wanted to get fancy, I could come in with some stickers and even put stickers on the top. I could come in with some rhinestones and put rhinestones on the top. But we're just going for simplicity today. And here we have an ombre glitter pendant. I'm going to show you this same bezel we did for Christmas. We made a little Christmas tree. Time for a little bit of show and tell here. Also, we did another piece of paper. This is a silhouette of my son. How cute is that? That I just embedded down inside the resin. So you can see lots of different ways. The only limit here is your creativity of what you're going to put inside there. Let me show you a couple other kinds of bezels. These are earring bezels. So you can see it's an earring. The back is already on there. So this is also sold at Michael's stores. And you can make this in the same way that we've done here by using the tape, filling it with whatever you want. And you have almost an instant, this is almost instant, pair of custom stud earrings. Bring in some, here's another glitter piece where we use glitter with paper. So these are my son's initials. I printed those out on paper, cut that out, and embedded it with a whole bunch of silver glitter. Here's just a very simple flower design. Sometimes you'll find with UV resin, sometimes the simplest things work the best. What else do I have to show you? Just some other bezel designs that we've done. Flowers. Here's more of a simple flower design. Here we put every flower in there, every color of the rainbow. Here's just one single flower, but we put pearls in the center. Look how beautiful that turns out. Here's the back. And here's the front. I love the multicolored flowers. Look how pretty this one is. Oh my gosh, I love that one. How about this one? Some pink flowers. Flowers just work so perfectly with this. All right, let's go over here to our cat. Actually, he didn't get fully cured. All right, so we are going to be wrapping it up here in about 10 minutes. So your last chance to ask any questions. Go ahead and put those in the chat as I continue to show you more show and tell. And I'd like to use the last couple minutes to talk about molds. Now, I started this class by saying there are two main ways of working with UV resin. One is bezels, the other one is molds. So this is an example of a mold. These make like jeweled shapes. This is another example of a mold. These make letters. This one makes all sorts of fun, oh, that's upside down. Fun shapes. You've got a wing and star, moon, unicorn head. All right. This one might be my favorite. This makes hoop earrings. Here's a hoop earring that came out of here. Okay. And the coolest thing about these hoop earrings is that when you buy it in stores, this is what it looks like in stores, it already comes with the metal earring back that you need. So there is no drilling needed, Amy, on this one. No drilling is needed. It comes with the back, which is kind of just like glued on there with the resin. All right. But you can drill. This drill is also sold in the program. It's a little hand drill that comes with the perfect size bit. And if I can just find a piece of resin over here that I can drill into. I don't want to destroy. Here's a little piece that came out of a mold. It already has a hole in it, but if I wanted to make another hole, it's just a little hand drill like this. So if in jewelry making, the hole placement is very important. And so if those holes aren't placed where you need them to be, you can drill your own hole. So you can see there. All right. Other molds. This mold is another earring mold. So you can see you can make some bar earrings. I have some good examples of bar earrings here that I want to show you. So here we just use seed beads. We just sprinkled seed beads down inside the mold. Here's more of our sprinkles, our candy sprinkles. Look how cute those are in an earring. So those are molds. Molds are a big part of UV resin crafting, as are bezels. So I encourage you to try both and see which one you like. All right, so these went for another minute. I just want to take this off and show you what it looks like. So here's the back, here's the front. Somebody said there was a bubble here.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it, but maybe
I'm not seeing it.
maybe it popped.
But it probably popped, yeah. And then here's this other piece. You can see it's not, this resin isn't tacky at all. You may get some surface tackiness just depending on the curing conditions, what you've placed in there. If you get surface tackiness is a common complaint with UV resin, just put it outside for a few minutes. And there's just nothing that compares with the pure UV light that comes from the sun. And so putting this outside for just a few minutes, oh, I see a bubble. Maybe she was talking about this one right there.
There's one, yeah.
Okay, so that was just me trying to go too fast. And what can happen when you're putting a big flower in there, when you're placing the flower in, some air can just get trapped underneath it as you're just sinking it into the resin. So you want to be careful and look for those before the cure, because that is there forever now. And then here's my little crooked J. You can see how easy it is to make a custom piece of jewelry. If you make jewelry to sell it or for fundraisers or for gifts, it's so easy to make a customized monogram piece just by using stickers, probably stickers that you already have.
Stephanie, question. Curing steps, molds versus bezels.
Yes.
Speak to that.
Curing steps, molds versus bezels.
Yeah.
There's really not a difference in the curing steps, whether it's in a mold or in a bezel. It takes about the same amount of time to cure it. So there aren't really any, the thing that has extra steps is the bezel, because the extra step is putting it on the tape. Here's our very first charm that we made, by the way.
And then where the tape is that, do you always consider that the back or bottom of the bezel, or is that the front?
That would be the back.
Back. Okay.
Yep. So the tape was here. So this is the front of the piece and this is the back. Let me show you the back. I mean, they look very similar, but it's just the front has a little more of a dome. You can kind of see it from the side. These things that I'm showing you come from this mold, which is a bangle mold. So we have put flowers or beads or sprinkles or letter beads down inside there and made some little phrases here. This is also another really fun one. Little daggery shapes. And this metal piece is a custom metal piece that's made to fit this. Do we have this mold here?
Which one?
This is very similar. This is what it looks like in store. So you get that custom metal piece inside with the mold. So you don't need to be a jewelry making expert to be able to do this. You just simply demold your shape and then you have a custom metal piece that goes on top of it. Oh, here's this exact one. Here's this exact shape. All right. What other molds do I have to show you? Let's see. Oh, this one. So this makes rings. This makes rings in sizes 4 through 9. So common sizes, and you can put all of the same things. Glitter. Here's some rings that we made. Any stud earrings you can show us? Yes, yes, ma'am. Coming right up. So we've got this hexagon shape. We've got this round shape. Those are both with flowers. We like to use the flowers. Here's another round with just some greenery and glitter inside there. Here's a yellow flower. I see a question there. Where can you get the tops to the faceted gem? Oh, okay. These tops, yeah, they are sold in the package. Michael's is looking at bringing in just these so you can buy them separately, but that will be coming sometime this year. All right, so there's our stud earrings. This is such an easy and quick project. I mean, within about 2 to 3 minutes, you have custom pieces there. Okay, all right. If we have any other questions, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, we are just gonna wrap it up here. Nothing else came through. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to hashtag your creations, hashtag UV Resin Crafts on Instagram and Facebook. I will be checking that. Thank you so much for joining us today. We do these classes about every 2 weeks. And so we're gonna be, just like we were highlighting bezels, we're gonna be highlighting a different aspect of UV resin 2 weeks from now. Be on the lookout for that on michaels.com. Merci beaucoup.
I am so sorry. I was trying to unmute myself, but I was like, you were off camera, so I didn't know if your other phone had went out or not. But we thank everyone for coming, and please go and look at the recording on michaels.com/classes, or you can also see it again on the Michaels YouTube channel within 24 to 48 hours. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.